Hello, welcome to Usenet Property. Welcome to episode 2. How are you, Martin?
Hi, Benjamin. Thanks for asking. Yeah, I'm pretty good. How are you? So, I think we'll have a great time together doing this podcast since it will help a lot of people.
As you probably seen in the title and the previous episode, today it comes Mario, a specialist in technology, will give us a talk about cybersecurity. We will ask him, several questions, and he will talk us about some tips we can use to avoid and prevent some horrible situations, I would say, that people tend to deal with constantly using the internet.
Now, next to us is Mayul. As we said, a cybersecurity professional. So, how are you, Mayul? Thanks for visiting us.
Hello Martin, hello Benjamin, how are you? As you just said, my name is Mayo and I am an internet safety specialist. Today, I will talk about ghosting for the podcast Use the Net Properly. It's a pleasure to be here with you at the occasion of the Safe Internet Day. Ghosting is a serious topic, so it is important to know what it is, how to avoid it, and the consequences it can have on the both sides. So, what is exactly ghosting? Well, ghosting is the fact that someone breaks up very suddenly and stops all communication with another person. The most of the time, it is in the case of a romantic relationship, even though it can also happen between friends or members of a family. During my explanation, be sure to differentiate a romantic relationship and a single relationship. Ghosting can have multiple reasons for the ghosters. They can do that to avoid hard discussions or conflicts, which can be understood. But for the people listening to us right now, remember that it is important to face our responsibilities. Ghosting can also happen because of a lack of communication skills, still from the ghoster, who does not know how to end up healthily a relationship, and once again, to avoid any effort, they just stop communicating, because of course it's easier for them. Once again, don't think they are right, because we will see later that there are consequences of ghosting. Finally, in the context of an online dating, people can just have a date, then swipe to the next person without giving any explanation. This type of ghosting can be considered less serious than in the case of a longer relationship, but it is much more frequent than any other form of ghosting. Now, we will be aborting the serious part, consequences, because ghosting can have an impact on both the ghosted and the ghoster. The ghosted person can have an emotional distress, feel rejection, confusion, or sadness. This is explained by the fact that he has no explanation on why he is getting ghosted, so he thinks it is his fault. He can have a negative self-perception and start doubting about him or herself. It can be very hard to move on because since there hasn't been any serious discussion, information, context, it is complicated for the person to say to him or herself that the relationship has ended. The ghosted person can feel relieved on the short term for avoiding serious discussions, but as I said, this is only on short term, because after that relief, they start to regret that their relationship ended like that. Finally, they can develop bad communication habits. Indeed, ghosting can become an habitual way for them to end the relationship because they choose the easier way, which can be harmful for them and their relations and make them become a toxic person. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to send them to the email address of the radio station so that we could potentially do a second episode with, once again, Martin and Benjamin.
Well, thank you very much, Mayul. So, changing topics, what do you think are the bad things that could happen to a teenager or an adult generally if they don't take care online? For example, diving online, chatting with people, exchanging information, changing passwords or sharing email, that kind of like private stuff that one has and like they shouldn't share online with people they don't know. What do you think that could happen?
Well, actually, that's a pretty easy but pretty good question because people can get hacked or even scammed if they give their personal information. So that can lead to a robbery on their bank account. They can also get their personal information that gets published without their consentment. So people just lose control of their personal information. And finally, internet is full of dangerous people, so they can just meet the wrong person.
Well, thank you so much, Mayo. That's so interesting. I have another question for you. Which do you think are the most efficient ways for people, generally speaking, to protect their private information on the internet?
Another good question. Of course, you must be careful on the internet to protect your personal information. Everybody knows that. To protect yourself efficiently, you must be aware of weird emails, strange websites, bizarre links, and all this kind of stuff. If you create accounts on video games or online chats, you can use another email address than your personal/professional one, and as they always say, do not use your real name. More advices are quite more specific and can only be used in precise situation. Thank you for listening me.
Well, thank you so much, Mayo. We were so glad to receiving you here. We really liked what you told us. Now we can take advantage of what you said to us, and we can be more safe around the internet. So thank you so much for your words. Well, this is the end of the episode, and see you in the next one.
Well, same as Benjamin, Mael. Thank you very much. Very useful. So, as you said previously, let's hope that the listeners put some questions so we can do a second episode with you and do similar things like this one. Some chatting and some answering questions. Also, don't forget to follow us at Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Using It Properly. Thank you very much. See you in the next episode.